Good morning, everybody. How are you doing? Okay, so today we will have class 2 in the conditional sentences. So all what you need, again, your student book on page 166, your classwork notebook, and your pencil case. And please don't be disturbed. Try to be focused as much as you can. So let's start. Now, before we start talking about the second conditional and the third conditional, let's have a quick refreshment. Let's refresh your minds and remind you with the last class. Let's have a look at what we had covered last time. Let's see. So the zero conditional is used to talk about a situation which is always true, if you remember. And the structure says, as you can see, in the F clause you need to use F followed by the subject, and then you use the present simple verb. And in the main clause, what do you need to use? You need to use the subject, then with the present simple. Okay, so this is for the zero conditional. Now let's move to the first conditional. For the first conditional, why do we use it? To talk about a situation which will probably happen now or in the future. So something will probably happen. Now, how to form it? We use the F followed by the subject in the present tense. And for the main clause, how do we form it? Subject. You choose one of these models. You can choose will or can or could or may or might, then followed by the base verb. Okay? So that's a quick revision for what we covered last time. And these are the answers for your quiz. Okay? Now let's continue with our class for today. We will start with the second conditional. Have you ever heard of them? Do you use them? Well, I can say yes. So let's say the usage. We use them for 3 situations, or we use them in 3 situations. The first situation, a situation unlikely to happen now or in the future. So something won't happen now nor in the future. Well, with the examples, things get easy. Let's have an example. Example number 1. If I knew where she lived, I would go and see her. That means I don't know where she lived. Okay? I don't know. I have no idea where she lives. So if I knew, I would go. This thing won't happen now because I don't know. Okay? Number 2, if the weather wasn't so bad, we would go to the park. Are we going to the park now? No, we are not. Why? Because the weather is bad. Or you can describe it in here. So, if the weather wasn't so bad, we would go to the park. That means, but the weather is so bad, so we can't go. Then he would pass the exam if he ever studied. This means he never studies, so this won't happen. Well, let's have a quick revision for the form. Now we have if. In the F clause, we start the F clause with if, then followed by the subject. Then we have the verb. And notice, what tense is this? Keep it in mind. And then we'll move to the main clause. We start with the subject. We have would, followed by a base form of the verb. Number 2, if the weather is the subject, wasn't is the verb. The tense, notice. Let's move to the next one. We would go to the park. And would, again, followed by a base form of the verb. Lastly, he would pass the exam. Notice here, I switched. I put the main clause initially. He is the subject, would is the modal, then followed by a base form of the verb. Then if, when it comes the second part of the sentence, it replaces the comma. He is the subject and studied is the verb. Now what tense do we have? It is a past tense, okay? Now let's see second situation. In the second situation, what is it? It's an imaginary or impossible situation in the present. So in the present, you're imagining something or you're describing something that is impossible to happen. So for example, let's see the examples. We would buy a larger house if we had more money. So that means at the present or at the moment you don't have enough money, so you won't buy a larger house. Number 2, if I won the prize, I would donate it for the orphanage, which means at the present I didn't win the prize. It's not, I don't have it. Then one more example, 3, Mom would make some gingerbread if she had the recipe. I'm sorry for that. So all of these situations are talking about something, either it's imaginary or impossible to happen at the present. So you're imagining if you have enough money, you will buy that car, house, or something like that. Is this idea clear? Hopefully yes. Now let's talk about the form. We form the second conditional again by using if in the F clause, then followed by the subject. But notice here the tense. It's past simple. As you can see here, if I won, if we had, if she had. Okay? Then the main clause, you start with the subject followed by would. As you can see in here, we is the subject, would, then followed by the verb by. It's a base form of the verb. As you can see in here, we have would followed with donate and would make. Okay? So this is the structure of the second conditional. It's easy, isn't it? Now, my super lovely students, let's see in here, third situation when to use the second conditional, to give advice. Okay? So, examples in that. If I were you, I wouldn't tell anyone about what happened. If I were you. Okay, so notice in here we use were with I in the F clause. So we have if I were you. Then in the main clause, what do we have? We have the subject, wouldn't tell you. So you're going to use would and the base form of the verb. Then one more example. If I were her, I would apologize for being late. Okay, so again we have in the main clause, in the F clause, F followed by the subject, then were. In the main clause, subject, then would, then the base form of the verb. Last example, if I were you, I wouldn't wear that black dress. Okay, so again, F, subject, then were. You need to notice that we use were with the I here to give advice. Okay, and in the main clause we have I followed with would, then with the base form of the verb. So what's the structure? To make it easy for you, we have if followed by the subject, then were, then you, or you can put any other object in here. And then you have to use a subject, would, then base form of the verb. Okay? The third conditional, now we will move to the third conditional. Hopefully things are easy with the second conditional. Now the third conditional, why do we use it? To talk about events or situations in the past that could have happened but didn't. So we're talking about the situation in the past. But it could have happened, but it didn't. So things that didn't happen in the past, and you cannot change the past. Okay, with examples, things get clear and straight. Let's see. If you hadn't lied before, I would have believed you. So, if we have this is the F clause, you, the subject, hadn't lied. See the difference in here? We moved one up level. So, hadn't lied. We used had followed with the verb 3 or the past participle. Then in the main clause we have the subject, I would have believed. Now, in the second conditional we used only would followed by a base form of the verb. But in the third conditional you need to use would have followed with the verb 3 or past participle of the verb. What does this mean? It means because you lied before, I didn't believe you. Okay? Then, one more example. If I had known you were coming, I would have baked a cake. Okay, what does this example mean? But I didn't know and I didn't bake a cake. Simply. So, the speaker here has no idea that people or visitors are coming to them. So, no cake has been baked. Okay? So, how do we form it? We use if followed by the I, then had, then the verb 3, which is non in here. In the main clause, we have the subject, then would, have, baked. Okay, so in the third conditional, the main clause, you need to use would, have, verb 3, would, have, verb 3. Okay, so you just follow the formula. No more, no less. And last example says, if you had worked harder, you would have passed the exam. Okay, sorry. So what does this example mean? It means he didn't work hard and he didn't pass the exam. Okay, so that's all for the third conditional. Again, why do we use it? To talk about events or situations in the past that could have happened but didn't. You cannot change the past. Then the form is given to you in here. We use subject, if followed by the subject, then had. So had is part of the structure. Then you use the verb 3. In the main clause we use subject, then would have as one chunk, use them as one chunk so you don't forget any part of them. Then verb 3. Okay, so that's all for today. You have homework on page 88, exercises A and B. So please study and do them then. So please be safe, stay home so we can cut the chain of the COVID-19. Thank you for listening. Have a good day.